All right, what's going on? Today I want to show you my shop behind me. It's a 35 by 50 structural steel shop, and I want to go over the price breakdown from the dirt work to the concrete slab to the metal building itself and everything I got in it. Basically, do a full price breakdown. After that, um, I want to give you a walkthrough basically of it, and then most importantly, I want to talk about a few things I would have done differently after putting it up and learned a lot. So share some of that with y'all today. All right, so like I said, this is a 35 by 50, so it's a 35 by 50 concrete slab. I did a 6-inch slab, and then under every post here, column, whatever you want to call it, there's one, two, three main posts under each one of those, and these two on the outside of the garage door. There's two on that side. So under each of those, I did a 2 foot wide by 2 foot long footer, and then I dug 2 foot down into virgin soil. Now I say virgin soil because you can see there was a pretty big grade difference from that side to this side, and that means this is virgin soil basically at surface level. But back on this other side, I ended up building the dirt up probably 4 or 5 feet on this corner. I did have it only built up to here, but I've done quite the excavation out here, so I used that extra dirt to bring over here and build it up. So that's what I mean by virgin soil. Now I did build this up in lifts and 4-inch lifts, something like that. I packed it as I went, but as you can see, there's quite a drop off back here. But so after that, I did the footers, and I had rebar. Basically, I call them cages in each footer, and the rebar stuck up out 2 foot. Now a lot of people they do monolithic pour, which means basically your footers and your slab would all be done in one. I did what I've done research on is called a semi-monolithic, where the footers tie into the slab basically. Um, So there are no what I big thing I did wrong, and we'll go over that in a little bit, is I didn't do drop off footers. Now I didn't do footers all the way along, obviously, because it's just the building is only supported in basically 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots. So I didn't do traditional footers. Now I'm not a builder by any means. I don't have any kind of licenses. I just have a piece of land out here, and I wanted a shop, so I ended up buying me a shop. So we'll walk in here and look at it a little bit more. Now, this isn't what you would call a red iron shop, because here in the middle where it's free span, now it is still a structural steel shop. This is basically what the metal you would have in a red iron building. You would still have the same gauge girts and purlings. The only difference with this shop is these side posts, because it's not really free span there. There's more posts here. And I guess that's why they decided to go with a thinner gauge, basically C channel there, and then C channel there, welded together, which I guess gives it more rigidity. So, other than that, this is a fully structural steel shop. It's got the cross bars, braces, cables, whatever you want to call them. It's got them in the ceiling. So, cost breakdown. Um, for the dirt work, I did most of it myself. I did hire a guy to come in. He originally cleared, and it wasn't enough for me, so I ended up clearing more. And I'll show pictures of all that. But he cleared from basically here to somewhere in the middle of my truck over there. And it just wasn't quite enough room. So I ended up coming back and clearing out, cutting the grade back to probably here. and I brought all that dirt and put it in the back there. Um, so for what I paid him $500. All he had to come out and do basically was cut the grade down from here and build it up over here. Um, and then from there on, the only cost I had was gravel. What I did, and it's not fully necessary, and I've got rid of a lot of it now, is I brought in some. The quarry here calls it number 2 stone. It's basically, let's see, I've still got some of it here. It's not your just driveway stone. You got some pieces like that. Now you do have some smaller ones, but you've also got some bigger stone like that. And I spread that around the whole basically dirt pad I had built up, even where the shop wasn't going. And the reason I did that was basically just to keep mud down, keep it where I could drive around, because I bought a an old wall, and that's where I saved money too. Is I didn't rent the equipment, so if you're renting equipment, basically figure that into your cost. So after the dirt work, I got the gravel down, and then I got the pad formed up. Not like I'll put pictures of that in there. And I did a 6-inch slab. I formed it all up. I did the footers, put rebar in the footers, and then after that, I put the plastic down, and then I didn't do rebar in my slab. That's another thing a lot of people do is, a 2-foot grid rebar or 1 foot, depends on where you are. A lot of people do it different. I did wire. I did wire mesh, and then I did 3,500 psi concrete. And I'm really happy with that so far. I've got one little bitty crack. Of course, I've got the stress cuts, but I've got one little bitty crack, and the pad's been poured for a little over a year probably. So it's gone through the seasons, and I've got the cuts there. I had them do the slope on the concrete there at this garage door. So in the pad, I've got about $1,500 in forming it up. That's anything from the actual form boards themselves going all the way around to the plastic to the rebar and the footers I did to the wire. So about $1,500 there, and then the concrete itself was $3,000. No, sorry, $6,000 for the concrete, and I'll figure out how many yards that is and put that in there. So the concrete was $6,000, and then I paid a crew to come out and basically just pour the slab. And I paid them $3,000, so $9,000 there, $1,500 in the slab work. So we're at about a little over $10,000, $500 for the dirt. So we'll just say 11 grand. And then the whole building kit. Now this is a used building too. I will say that this has been put up and it's been taken down. And really the only things bad about it, you can see in some spots, don't know why, you can see there's multiple screws. I had to put multiple screws. So I don't know if that was just a bad install from the beginning, because I did not make extra holes there. There was 2 holes. And there's, 10 or so places around the shop that are like that. So the only other thing is that man door obviously sat outside or something like that. So I do want to replace that at some point. The shop kit, it was on Facebook Marketplace, listed for $17,000, and it was about 5 hours away from me. So I messaged the guy and I asked him, about it, how much he wanted for it, and what he would take for it. Basically, what I mean. He said he would take 15 grand. So I asked him if he had any way to transport it to me, and just so happened to work out. I didn't want to drive all the way up there, but I might have if I had to. But it worked out where he had a brother that does, heavy hauling transport. He had a 40-foot flatbed, and he brought the whole building kit to me basically for 2 grand. So I ended up paying basically what he was asking for at 17 grand. And that got the building kit here to me. And So I got the pad poured, and then I bought a old Lowell, probably one of the original Lowells, high lift, forklift, whatever you want to call it. And from there, just started on this side. I bolted the main two posts and rafters together, picked that up as a whole, and bolted that down. Did the same with the center set, and then this end, and then I put these two posts in here on both sides, and then after that, well, I will say I did this set of rafters and posts and this set, and then put these two jerks, and I should have those backwards. Those may be purlins and those may be jerks, but put these two jerks on there just to lock the two in place if I wasn't able to get to it for a while or something. I didn't want the wind to have two, basically just one set freestanding. That's not very strong in and of itself. So after that, I got the other side put up, got all the girts done, and that one, and then from there put all the purlins on up here, and then after that it was pretty much roof metal, and then the siding. I did end up having to buy, I believe, 8 pieces of sidings. I think that was close to $800 because those are 17 foot tall. This building's 17 foot tall on the sides and 20 in the middle. So enough with the boring stuff. Let's get down to some things I would have done different on this shop. Number one, like I said, I did not do drop off footings. I didn't do full footings on the edges, and that has become a problem. I did the footings under the post, like I've said. It's become a problem because this whole piece of land is sloped up, and all the water coming down is actually going under the slab where it was, and it was washing out the other side a little bit. And so I really wish I would have done drop off footings, which basically you would just dig, at the edge of your slab, you dig down 6 inches or so, and that would really just tie the concrete slab into the dirt. And it was a problem with me because I built it up with that gravel, so the water was able to just go from there and penetrate straight under the slab. So I did end up going back, digging this down, and tying the slab into the dirt with basically a drop-off footing after the fact, and that's really stopped my water going under the slab. Another thing, I work on heavy equipment. I work on jet skis. I've got my old Jeep there, anything like that. So any water, you can see there was water there at one point. Another thing, I'd get oil on my slab. Floor drains, it's a big thing to do. Not really big, but you can't go back and fix it basically when you're done. I mean, it would take a lot of work to get a floor drain in here because the concrete's flat. There's no slope towards the middle. So I can't pressure wash anything in my shop. And if I wanted to pressure wash some of this oil up or something like that, I can't do it. So floor drains would have been a big thing. And then the size of the shop, always go bigger. This is a 35 by 50, and as you can see, it's filled up pretty quick. Now, normally there wouldn't be a dozer and a skid steer in here, but it's filled up fairly fast, and it's only going to keep filling up. So go bigger for sure. Another thing is insulation. I told myself in the beginning I didn't need it because I was going to go back and do spray foam. Well, here I am. I haven't done spray foam yet, and I've already started to get a little bit of condensation because it's November here in Alabama. So it's really just starting to get a little bit chilly. And with that, it's starting to condensate in here a little bit in the mornings, but insulation would have prevented that. And I am going to go back and do spray foam, but that's another thing to consider pretty heavily. So consider that. I would really do floor drains. Even if you think you're not going to need them, you will end up needing them. Now, there might be people that just park their stuff in here. Basically, they don't care to work on anything, and that's perfectly fine. So there might be people that don't need floor drains. But for me, I wish I did them. Do drop off footings for sure. That's basically just oversight on my part, and not not saying if you have a contractor putting this up, they will probably 100% recommend that. This is just a DIY for me. Me and my brother put this shop up, and that's something I didn't look at. So basically, from my experience, that's the few things I would have done different. Not really a whole lot. I mean, it's turned out great. Now I am gonna go back at some point. You probably noticed I have not put my trim on up here. I'm debating on getting some more of that Z purlin and bringing this out about 2 foot and putting a overhang on there, and mainly just for aesthetic reasons. I do have the trim, so I could go ahead and put that on, but I don't know. I'm waiting to decide on that, and I am going to go back and I'm going to put a lean-to on this side and a lean-to on that side, just to have a little more space to park, my dump truck, and I've got an excavator in the back, just stuff like that. That doesn't have to be in the shop taking up space. But that's basically a walkthrough of my shop, how it went together, price point, stuff like that. And I will include a full breakdown either in the description or at the end of the video, something like that. So we'll throw up I've got some cool drone footage of the building here, and I'll play some of that footage, put some pictures in here, and do a little price breakdown in that. So that's gonna be the end here. I appreciate y'all listening to me babble on about my shop here, and hopefully y'all can watch this if you're considering building a shop, and especially if you're thinking about building one yourself. So hopefully this is good information and can help somebody out. All right, I appreciate y'all watching.